What's going on, Shiny Crew? I'm TheSilverSlasher, and as you may or may not have noticed, we reached 10,000 subscribers. Woo! Okay, it has been a little while since then, but nonetheless, I promised you all a certain video to commemorate that landmark. As a Pokemon YouTuber, I'm basically legally obligated to make this video, so here it is. My personal, opinionated, top 10 favorite Pokemon. The adjectives I chose to describe this video were for a reason. Now let's get to the list. Number 10. Pokmon Z. So a lot of the entries on this list are my favorites because of personal stories and adventures I've gone on with them. Pokmon Z, on the other hand, is not one of those at all. Porygon was one of my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon because of how hard it was to get, and I also thought that a Pokemon based off of the fundamental building blocks of design was really cool. And we had Porygon 2, who was one of my favorites in Gen 2 because you could see the Porygon creature becoming more and more advanced as technology increased, and especially the fact that you basically just load in with new software to get there. I was so ready to see this Pokemon project of sorts finally come to fruition. Unfortunately, Gen 3 sucks, but then in Gen 4 it finally happened, and it was better than we could have all possibly hoped for. After the final upgrade with the dubious disc, it actually fails. Pokmon Z's Pokédex entry states that it's actually not how the Pokemon was intended to work, and that's a pretty funny twist. It's also the cutest of the three in my opinion, and is actually extremely strong. I usually name my Pokemon Z either Virus or Malware, which I realize isn't very creative, but on the other hand, shut up. Number 9. Crobat. Anyone out there who's been watching the channel for an extended period of time probably already knows about this one, but I just could not leave Crobat off the list. It all started with the Pokemon Soul Silver Rocket Lock, the first Nuzlocke I ever did. For those of you who don't know, the Rocket Lock Challenge has a specific rule that allows you to steal a Pokemon from another trainer. The Pokemon I decided to steal ended up being my rival's Crobat, which I, for whatever reason, named Crowfat. Crowfat was overall a strong member of the party, but never particularly stood out. That was until he survived a Zen Headbutt from Salamence and went on to cement himself in the 6 that took out Red's Pokemon. Pretty fitting end, right? Well, Crowfat didn't think so, as he immediately returned in the Platinum Randomizer Nuzlocke. Twice. Yes, Crowfat showed up, died, and then came back the next episode. And I invited him back on the team with open arms. After that, he took about a year break and came back in the Diamond Chain Monolock Randomizer. Seriously, this thing has appeared so many times that it's like I can't escape. Either way, Crowfat has always been an absolute beast, and has given me a reason to love this Pokemon. Number 8. Monferno. I honestly don't know if I can explain this one. One day, long ago, a young little Wade awoke and asked himself, what is my favorite Pokemon? And for whatever reason, the first thing he thought of was the little fire monkey Monferno. That's literally it. I'm being serious here, I'm being completely transparent. That is all there is to it. I guess beating the rock-type gym with a fire-type thanks to Mach Punch was pretty cool, but yeah. I mean, let's give young me some credit and have a little exercise. Imagine your favorite monkey. Maybe it's Abu from Aladdin, or maybe Barbossa's monkey, Jack, from Pirates of the Caribbean. Now I have one question to ask you about that monkey. Is it on fire? I rest my case. Why did I prefer this goober to Infernape? Yeah, again, I don't know. I have no idea what I usually name these boys, but I did once name one Flamunker, which I think is pretty hilarious. So yeah, Monferno makes my favorite list just because it's so funny to me that I had literally no reason for liking him. That's it. Number 7. Torterra. You know, as long as we're back in time here, let's hang out in late 2006 for a while. I'd been a Pokemon fan as long as I could possibly remember, but I'd never really thought too hard about the fact that others might share their love of the series online. This was one of the most influential days of my life, due to my finding of one singular thing, Cerebi.net, where legends come to life. I could finally search through every Pokemon and get details including how to find them, their stats, and most important— Wait! There's a new game out in Japan but not here? And it's for the DS?! I literally got this game in Japanese so I could play it early. Language barriers be damned. I picked the adorable Piplup and beat the entire game in Japanese. It was great, but the lack of speaking prevented a lot of the fun. When it finally came out in America, I picked Chimchar and had a great time playing. It was honestly the best game I've ever played in my life. Or at least it was, until Platinum came out. Pokemon Platinum, the game I finally chose Turtwig, is to this day the most unbelievably breathtaking and fun-filled gaming experience of my entire life. Everything about my original playthrough of Platinum decided what I am today, from the Pokemon I love to the kind of things I want from my video games. Torterra's design is awesome in its own right, but honestly this spot would be taken by either of the other two if they were the one I picked in Platinum. Regardless, Torterra will probably stay in my heart for the rest of my life because of this experience. Also, Turtwig is freaking adorable. I mean, that's pretty important. He's gotta be my favorite starter Pokemon. Oh wait. Number 6. Bulbasaur. For most Pokemon fans, it's pretty common for their favorite to be their first ever starter. Now me personally, I probably picked Charmander the first time because fire, but honestly I can't remember a time before I've picked Bulbasaur. Now obviously I picked the other two from time to time, but Bulbasaur. Oh man, Bulbasaur is main boy status. Would you just look at this adorable little dino dingus? He's got that nice simple design that I think Gen 1 really excelled in. Sure, they kinda had to have a simple design on the limiting hardware, but it still worked so beautifully, and I think it's why so many remember the original 151 with such high regard. All of this is not to mention that Venusaur absolutely destroys lives. The combination of status conditions and heavy-hitting grass moves always makes this thing a monster, and it appears in so many series of mine it's ridiculous. Titan will always stand tall among other Bulbasaur as my favorite starter of all time. Number 5, Raichu. Out of all 807 current Pokemon, which do you feel bad for the most? Maybe Cubone? Maybe Spoink? Well, as much as I'd agree with you on those two, I don't feel bad for any Pokemon more than I feel bad for Raichu. This poor thing has been, until recently, almost completely forgotten by GameFreak. Pikachu steals its entire spotlight, and that's friggin' lame. Look, I'm not one of those hipsters who hates Pikachu because of its popularity. I actually love this cute little mouse, but I have to be honest when I say Raichu does it for me a little more. Up there with Mareep, Raichu is one of the Pokemon I want to hug the most. He looks so cuddly, and instead of slimming down with each generation, Raichu has stayed generally chubby and huggable, and I just love him so much. Alolan Raichu is super cute too, but honestly I just love the original boy too much. I call my Raichu Cinnamon, and I love her. Hang in there, buddy, someday it'll be fully appreciated. Number 4, Scizor. I didn't even realize that rhymed when I wrote it down. Hey, Masada-san. Yes, Sugimori-san? What if we take one of the worst types in the game and mix it with one of the best types in the game? Wow, good idea. Wait, who the heck are you? Combining Bug and Steel was one of the slickest decisions the Pokemon Company has ever made, and that's why Durant is loved by every Pokemon fan. Scizor is an absolute monster. Everything from its design to potential in combat is of the highest quality. Scyther is one of my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon, and honestly, slapping metal on him was probably the only way to make him look cooler. Like seriously, give me one Pokemon that would look dumb if you slapped metal on it. I'm waiting. Time's up, the answers are Carbink, Amora, and Diancie, get it? Because okay. Overall, Scizor doesn't have much meaning to me personally. It's just cool and strong enough to make it this high on the list. And you know what? What else does a Pokemon really need to be? Number 3, Decidueye. Okay, look, I know I said that Turtwig was my favorite starter, and then said that Bulbasaur was my favorite starter, but just cut me some slack here. I love them all too much, and here we go, it's Decidueye. A Pokemon from Generation 7 making it this high on the list is honestly incredible, but I don't know if I'll ever forget my first playthrough of Pokemon Sun. I picked Rowlet because between him and Decidueye, the evolution was by far my favorite of the three, and I named him Ace. One of the biggest surprises during my playthrough was how actually difficult the game felt. I mean, none of the main games are supremely difficult, but in terms of standard game playing, I think Gen 7 is probably the second hardest the series has to offer, only behind Gen 4. However, no matter how many feints occurred and battles seemed hopeless, Ace pulled through. I made sure to pet him in Pokemon Refresh all the time because I just love my bird buddy so much. By the time we hit the Elite Four together, he was staying up on 1 HP to make me happy, and I knew that this was my favorite starter Pokemon I ever owned. Hopefully someday, I'll be standing in Generation 10, or 15, or 20, with Ace still standing beside me. Number 2, Darkrai. I mentioned earlier that I discovered the online Pokemon community such as Cerebi right before Gen 4 came out, so I didn't know much of what I was doing when I originally played the game. As such, what the starters and legendaries looked like were basically the only things I knew going into the game. I played through the entire thing with this unrivaled sense of wonder and excitement, because I legitimately had no idea what would happen next. Finding Heatran, the Light Guardians, and Regigigas was freaking awesome. When I learned that there was another legendary Pokemon just waiting for me to kick those goddamn doors down, my hype could not be contained. And when I finally got my game set up to go catch Darkrai, I was not disappointed in the least bit. He looks awesome, has an awesome story, and can clean house in battle. And I don't know what more I can ask for than that. Fun fact, Darkrai was actually going to be the mascot for this channel at some point, but some other Pokemon unexpectedly took the spot. Now, who could that have possibly been? Number 1. It's Veemon. I mean, there's no way I could have possibly hit it. I mean, he's plastered all over the channel. Bisharp. My love of this thing basically manifested itself in one sitting. When pondering what to do next with the channel, I figured it was pretty much par for the course to give myself a mascot, but I specifically wanted one that was cool, yet never really talked about. I was looking through my old Japanese Pokemon White version, and wouldn't you know it, my trusty old Bisharp was just hanging out. Aside from that story, I love Bisharp basically on visuals alone. He's a seriously cool boy. Pawniard's great too, but I just wish he was a little stronger. Like I said, I've traditionally called them Slasher, but now that I've sorta stolen that name for myself, and didn't think that one through, huh? I've been calling them Evis. Over time, having Bisharp be a centerpiece to such an important part of my life has made him even more beloved in my heart. So there you have it, my top 10 favorite Pokemon. I guess you could say that's checkmate for this list, ah! If you're looking for some honorable mentions, well, here you go, I guess. Basically every Pokemon ever. Look, for being honest, I love almost every Pokemon in existence. This video was so hard to make because there are just so many Pokemon that I feel bad for leaving off the list. Like Burmy. How could I possibly leave Burmy off the list? Either way, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video enough to give it a like, I would greatly appreciate that, and if you want more awesome Pokemon content, subscribing would help us both out. This has been TheSilverSlasher, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.